Oh my god, hey! Welcome back to my kingdom of stagey isolation. If you're seeing my face for the first time, my name is Mickey Joe and I am obsessed with all things theatre. Recently, while we have all been stuck in our homes in Lockdown 3, The Revenge of Jafar, there has been some interesting theatre news, which is fun because, I'll be honest, not a lot of theatre news at the moment. And it's a casting announcement, which is even more exciting. I love casting announcements. This particular announcement has been for some of the principal casting for the musical, the movie version of the musical version of Matilda. Not to be confused with the movie version of the book of Matilda, this is the movie of the musical of the book Matilda. The cast of Matilda has just been announced, and it's slightly controversial. Now, I'm not going to say I forgot that they were turning this into a film, but you know what, that's exactly what I'm going to say. Ever since the movie version of Into the Woods, I'm a little bit wary of musicals that I love being turned into films. The other side of this is I always have a sort of low level of enthusiasm for musicals that have been films in some previous incarnation being made into films. And that's not to say this is the first time this has happened, or that it hasn't given us great movie musicals before. Hairspray, before it was a movie musical, was a stage musical, and before that it was based on a film. So you have this film that's been turned into a show that's being turned into a filmed version of the show, if you like. It sometimes feels like the default. As soon as something is successful on stage, they're like, make it a film so it can make real money. Like the stage production isn't ever going to be able to make the same kind of money or have the same kind of reach, which it isn't. I just think it's a shame. Maybe I'm just bitter about the parallels between the film and theatre industry. I need to move on. So 3 pieces of casting have been announced for this, which is that newcomer Alicia Weir will be playing Matilda, Lashana Lynch from the James Bond movie that no one is ever going to be able to see is going to be playing Miss Honey, and Dame Emma Thompson, who I missed entirely becoming a dame, but apparently that's a thing, will be playing Miss Trunchbull. That is the controversial one. We're going to talk about her in just a second. So Alicia Weir playing Matilda, obviously we know nothing about her because she is a child, so she does not have an enormous breadth of work behind her. She is not a dame yet, nor is she starring in the new James Bond movie because, again, child. I hope she's really, really small. I like when the Matildas are tiny, it's funny. Director Matthew Warchus, who was also the director of the stage version, said that she gave an unforgettable audition, so that's something to look forward to. Lashana Lynch is playing Miss Honey. I'm literally Googling her right now because I'm sure I've seen her in something on stage. Oh, Captain Marvel. She was in Captain Marvel. She was in Captain Marvel. She was the other lady in Captain Marvel. Yes, very much a rising star, arts ed trained. We love to see it. I wonder if she was musical theatre trained at Arts Ed, because this is leading me to my big Miss Honey question, which is, can she sing? Listen, for a musical theatre fan, I'm always quite accommodating when it comes to movie stars being cast in musicals who maybe don't have that much prior singing training. I am all for acting performances where the character is more important sometimes than the vocal, unless it's some sort of crazy important vocal a la Effie in Dreamgirls. When they're on stage, that is when I get a little bit choosier. But for Miss Honey, her character arc is so satisfying. It's such a great character, and the big part of that is when she finally lands this moment with My House at the end of the show. She's so meek and so accommodating, and then you finally understand her as a character when she lands this triumphant moment at the end of the show with this huge belted song with this gorgeous musical climax that Tim Minchin wrote so cleverly. I will be so upset if she can't belt it. If not flawlessly, then at least incredibly emotively. The previous rumoured Miss Honeys for this movie were Emma Stone, who can sing well enough but isn't British, and I need my Miss Honey to be British. I just need it. It's important to me. And I know that original stage Miss Honey, Lauren Ward, was not British, but she did a very good job of convincing me, so that's okay. Another rumoured Miss Honey was going to be Jodie Comer. Again, I don't know if she sings, but she can do every accent under the sun, so that at least was not a problem. And then they moved from Jodie Comer to Lashana Lynch. Is Phoebe Waller-Bridge casting this film? Is she involved? Is there any film or television project that Phoebe Waller-Bridge isn't involved in somewhere at the moment? But this is very interesting casting. It's definitely casting against type of what we'd expect to see as Miss Honey, which I always find very exciting. I love when they go in a different direction. It's not something super obvious, a la Emma Stone, who had just, I think at the time, just won an Oscar for doing La La Land and just been in a musical, where Hollywood are always tempted to be like, oh, she can sing, let's put her in all the musicals. That's easy, done. Where's James Corden? Where's Meryl? Throw them all in. As yet unconfirmed whether James Corden will be appearing in the Matilda film. Maybe he'll be Bruce. This brings us to the most controversial piece of casting, which is Dame Emma Thompson as Miss Trunchbull. I didn't plan for this to be this dramatic with the lighting coming in at me at this moment. Now, the reason for the controversy is this. Miss Trunchbull, though a female character, in the stage version, done by the RSC, has always been played by a man. Actually, that's a lie. Beth Malone was going to play Miss Trunchbull. Did that production ever happen, or was it stopped by Corona? Let me Google this very quickly and fact check myself. Fact check. Gotta do a fact check. Yes, I think it did. So not only was Beth Malone from Fun Home cast as Miss Trunchbull in a regional American production of Matilda, she was actually replacing Will Swenson in the role, so they got a female actress instead of an actor to play this part. They've always said at the RSC that the casting is not specific to gender. Trunchbull is neither a man nor a woman. Trunchbull is just a monster. The one thing they have screened for is height, because they needed Trunchbull's actor to, I believe, be at least 6 foot to tower physically over not only Matilda but also Miss Honey. So monstrousness is what they are looking for, which when I think Dame Emma Thompson, it's not something that comes to mind, but she's a phenomenal actress, so I believe she has it in her to get there. So initially, I had really wanted Bertie Carvel to play Miss Trunchbull in the film, and no one had ever said that he was going to, but in the back of my mind, I sort of thought he was. When Matilda had originally opened in Stratford-upon-Avon, I remember all of this hype about Bertie Carvel's performance. I was so excited. I made sure I got to see it in London before he left the show. I went to the stage door, I met him, and I asked everyone in that cast if he was going to Broadway with the show, and they all said no. That only Lauren Ward, who was married to the director, Matthew Warchus, fun fact, would be going to Broadway with the show when it opened there. Plot twist, he did. He went to Broadway with the show, he won an Olivier, he didn't win the Tony, he was robbed. I will go to my grave saying this. Justice for Matilda at the Tony Awards. And so I'd really hoped he was going to do the movie. I think sometimes there are performances on stage that are so great, it would be great to have them captured on film. By the time I saw it in London, his performance had already evolved so far past the cast recording, it would have been great to have some sort of permanent record of that that's not a bootleg that someone filmed on a camera phone from the 3rd row of the dress circle in America. Also, he has done enough television and I don't know, possibly film work that he would be a recognised quantity, especially to British audiences. They'd be like, oh yeah, that's the bloke that cheated in Dr. Foster, among other roles. But the first name that was announced to play Miss Trunchbull in the movie version was Ralph Fiennes. And this was confirmed at one point. I was reading articles this morning that had retrospectively said Ralph Fiennes confirmed to play Miss Trunchbull in the movie alongside Jodie Comer. So for them to have now U-turned completely, I get that COVID has happened and this probably delayed them a lot. Whether he had other projects, I don't know. There's a part of me that wonders whether this has something to do with some level of concern about gender politics. And even though Trunchbull has historically been played by a man on stage, film audiences would not know that, and so there's a certain level of PR and optics about a woman's role in a big Hollywood movie, as people may perceive it to be a woman's role, going to a man. This has happened before, not on such a big scale, but when the role of Mother Superior in the would-have-been upcoming UK tour of Sister Act was announced to be played by a male performer for the show's Scotland tour dates, there was a lot of backlash against a woman's role going to a man. Whether this is something that the studio was concerned by, you see a lot of backlash to various pieces of casting news in Hollywood these days. Maybe that's what motivated the decision. I do not know. I don't work for the film. What I do find interesting is very rarely do you see a stage musical adapted to a film and the same director is directing both. Now, obviously he had a certain vision for the stage version in Stratford, he had a vision in the West End, and he had a vision when it then went to Broadway, and they had the chance to make all these changes. So not until the film is he casting a female actress in this role. It's interesting to see what changed in terms of his vision for the casting between those places. And that's why I wonder if it might be motivated by bigger forces. Do I think it would have been a better choice to have a man play Trunchbull in the film? Yes, only because it would be a very good way of avoiding any kind of comparison with the incredible performance given by Pam Ferris in the previous Matilda movie. That's something you want to just avoid touching altogether. Also, I love that all 3 of these actors, Ralph Fiennes, Emma Thompson and Pam Ferris, have all appeared in the Harry Potter world. Basically, any British actor of that age, of that generation, has at some point been in the Harry Potter world. Back to Emma Thompson though, I think she'll be fantastic as Miss Trunchbull. I put complete faith in her as a performer. It'll be interesting to see her do something other than just sort of nice and sweet. I think even as Nanny McPhee, where she was obviously had this physical transformation, she was quite stern, it was still Mary Poppins adjacent, and Miss Trunchbull is not that. Miss Trunchbull is a monster. So it's going to be interesting seeing her show a little bit of range there. I have seen her play Mrs. Lovett in the stage version of Sweeney Todd at the London Coliseum, and that was sort of a grittier performance and an earthier performance and one with darker shades to it. Is she the villain of the story? Do we know? Do we care? I don't know. So not a million miles from the role that she'd be playing on film. And also she sang very well in that. She sang very serviceably. Not that I'm too worried about Trunchbull vocals, because none of the songs, especially in the context of a film that's not in a stage version, none of them are very like razzmatazzy, you must land this incredible vocal. It's more about the character voice and the sinister tones of it and getting that character across. It's more about being scary than being fabulous. But these are my thoughts on these pieces of casting so far. I'd be very interested to see who is cast in the rest of the film. What kind of actors do we expect to see playing Matilda's parents, for example? Will they also have appeared in Harry Potter? Probably. There aren't that many more roles in the film, and we know how they love to stuff these movie musicals with as many names as they can, so it'll be very interesting who they get to play Matilda's parents, who they get to play the librarian, the characters in the flashbacks, all these people. I'm really excited to see where this show goes when it turns into a movie. Let me know your thoughts about this latest news about the casting of the Matilda movie in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to subscribe to my Stagey YouTube channel, where there is plenty more content about plenty of other shows while I am stuck here at home in the middle of a pandemic. I hope that everyone is staying safe and that you have a stagey day.
For 10 more seconds, I'm Mickey Joe Theatre. Oh my god, hey, thanks for watching, have a stagey day. Subscribe!